to provide an update to the last video I covered a while back about locality pay. It was about Colorado and the mountain town areas that were experiencing pretty bad mail delays and staffing issues. Um, in that video, so it was leading to local leaders in those areas to talk about exploring a lawsuit, and it even got some Congress people involved in those areas. And finally, that pressure put enough pressure on the post office to launch an investigation and do an audit of that area. And I wanted to play a short clip of a local commissioner for that area going over the audit and what they thought of it. And I'll break down part of the OIG report, the audit, after the video.
Stacks of mail piled up in Steamboat, lines of packages outside a facility in Grand Junction. That outdated building just isn't big enough to handle current volumes. But that's no surprise to someone who hears complaints constantly.
Long wait times, an inability to access their boxes, lost packages. Those are a lot of the concerns that we hear on a pretty frequent basis.
Tomorrow Pog is a commissioner in Summit County. Those concerns from residents in Colorado's mountain towns are one of the reasons for this federal audit. It found on-time delivery was lower than the average nationwide.
I think broadly, if you asked anyone in Summit County right now, they would say, yes, that is exactly the problem.
The biggest problem Pog is looking at is staffing. Turnover in Buena Vista, according to the audit, was 78% one year.
I think just being a high cost of living community, if you can't pay adequate wages, you will struggle to compete to get the kinds of workforce that you need to do anything.
The audit found high cost of living and less competitive pay are reasons why the Postal Service struggles to hire and retain. And while costs have gone up since 2019, the Postal Service's hourly pay remained unchanged.
Even our fast food restaurants are starting at $24 an hour, and I understand that the Postal Service is pretty far below that.
The federal audit recommends USPS to explore the possibility of increasing pay. After frustrations piled up, Pogue hopes better service can be delivered.
I think it's a great first step.
Mail delivery is critical to residents in mountain towns. They have fewer options to receive medications, financial documents. Other recommendations in that report were related to poor performance and customer service.
In the video with the commissioner, and it's an audit that was done on December 5th. If we look at the index, some of the main points, that make 4 main points. One was the staffing and retention issues. That goes into short staffing and the pay issues. The second one was improper handling of mail and packages. That's mostly due to, they complained about the contracted delivery service drivers. So that's, I assume, is like FedEx or whoever they give the mail to offload the workload for the carriers, since they don't have enough carriers. Number 3 was transportation schedules. So that's management not being experienced enough because the postmasters are backfilling positions. They're not regular postmasters, so that's on the management side to organize the schedule better for shipping. And 4 was the facilities that the Inspector General was looking at were outdated. They were built in the 80s, so they weren't really equipped to handle all the influx of new packages from all the e-commerce business and stuff like that. So that's just the post office's infrastructure being outdated and not being able to keep up. But my takeaway from this is take care of the facility, modernizing it, and paying people enough to live in these areas. Then that takes care of some of the main issues, and everything else kind of trickles down after that. But if we go into the report, we find specifically about issue number 1. All right, here is the facilities that they looked at. And if you see, like for carriers, the biggest offices where they had the most issues were the Buena Vista and even Dillon in the the other slide I'm about to show you in terms of turnover, but also conifer. Clerks also had a lot of turnover, understaffing in these areas. So like on their side for the clerks, it's about 51% in these two offices. And if we go to the next slide, next slide. So right here is the highest turnover that they've seen in the different offices they've explored in the mountain towns. And from right here, you can see Buena Vista and Dillon had some of the highest, almost 80% turnover in Buena Vista. And that's mostly due to the hourly pay. It's not really keeping up in those areas. And if we go to the next one, it shows like a small graph of, comparing one of the biggest competitors in terms of jobs in that area, which is the mountain resorts. And you can see like from pre-pandemic to 2019, the pay was a lot lower for those type of jobs compared to the post office. The other areas where the inspector general found an issue was due to the short staffing, the post office was relying more on contract delivery service. And they found that the contract delivery drivers that they had were unable to fulfill their contract because they were, basically passing up the mail that wasn't part of their route back to us and putting it as undeliverable. That's due to management and the contractors not, because communicating with each other. And that that also contributed to the backlog of mail. But also, one of the last points was, the facilities themselves was one of the main issues. Uh, they're not, it's like I said, they're older facilities, so a lot of times they would have the mail staged outside, like this photo right here down here. I don't know if you can see it. But yeah, they're overfilled for what they can handle. And that was one of the other issues that the Inspector General was able to find. But yeah, in terms of what they can do, the post office is still waiting for, I guess, the contract negotiations to settle a lot of this, because a lot of this has to do with the pay scale, and they can't do anything until they negotiate it at a national level, the whole pay scale for the company. So we're just waiting to see mostly what the letter carriers are able to negotiate with their current contract, since they're in negotiations right now. So early next year, we'll be able to see a lot of issues like this being addressed, and hopefully that'll trickle down to the rest of us in the other unions, the other crafts, and hopefully we can get something good out of it. And yeah, I just wanted to cover this issue since I know it relates to the larger issue of the letter carriers contract negotiations, and so that's something to keep an eye on for next year when the NALC has the beginning of arbitration going. And yeah, thanks for checking out the video.